Good afternoon. My name is Martin Hill and I'm Spiritual Care Lead for St Catherine's Hospice, Crawley. This is the first actual in-person Tree of Light service that we've been able to hold since 2019. I'm sure that, as have we, many of you have missed holding this event. For those of you who have been bereaved in this time of our absence, we hope that you, along with those of you here for whom Tree of Light has served your grief journey before, find this time beneficial and gain whatever it is that you yourself need at this time of year for your comfort and peace. Just a couple of housekeeping notices before we begin. Should you need a toilet during the service, you'll find them both to the left through the door, to the left through that door, and to the right through this door, both a ladies' and a gentleman's toilet. Fire exits are those that have the green signs with the running person above them. If by any perchance there is a fire alarm, it is not going to be a practice and you will need to make your way to the meeting point out in the hotel car park. We're delighted that those of you who have young children have been able to bring them with you today. We'd just like to know that children should be able to be children and not to shush during the course of the service, but please, we don't want their behaviour to disturb anybody else's event. So if you could just keep that in mind and keep an eye out for where they might be. And should you find your emotions overwhelm you and you wish any support during the service, we have members of the wellbeing team here to support you, and they're the people in the white sashes with St Catherine's Hospice written on them. Now let me introduce you to you, Giles Tomset, who is the Chief Executive of St Catherine's Hospice, to give you a welcome on behalf of the broader hospice community.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely lovely to see you all here today, supporting us again after a 3-year absence. And I want to presage my welcoming remarks in 2 ways. I want to tell you just very briefly about the effect of the pandemic on your organisation you're here to support today, St Catherine's. And I want to make some personal remarks about loss, if I may too. So the pandemic hit us very hard and has affected care. All healthcare in the United Kingdom has been behind masks and PPE. Imagine that kind of care when you're dying. And it has required us to mobilise a different approach to care and support. And as we went through all the carnage of the COVID pandemic, we then found that our income had suffered because we couldn't open our shops or hold events like these. And so as a result, the organisation had to downsize. And it is, I have to say, with the utmost regret, that we lost a good handful of colleagues who'd served us for a very long time, who took voluntary redundancy and left our organisation. And I'm full of emotion because some of those people were, I have to tell you, the very, very best of us. Even as we go forward now with the cost of living implications that face you, face me, and face our whole society, all charities in the United Kingdom are facing a very, very tough time, including our own St Catherine's Hospice. But I would say to you all, we look to the future with some confidence that we remain relevant and vital to the local community in the work we do. And it's for that reason, as we look to the future of an ageing society here in the United Kingdom and in the southeast of England, we're building a brand new hospice at Peace Pottage. And it's my hope that as we open it towards the end of 2023, you might consider coming on a tour and viewing the new hospice at your leisure. We'll be holding a number of events to come and tour the new hospice so you can understand the vital work we need to continue to do. Now, the whole healthcare system has suffered grievously as a result of the pandemic. You'll remember that many, many people were sent home from hospitals in a sudden sort of rush to get them back to their care homes. And my own godmother was one of those people who returned to her care home with COVID, and 16 of the residents of her care home were to pass away. I wasn't able to go to her funeral because only 6 people could go. My best friend died in the COVID years. Again, wasn't able to go to his funeral because only the family could attend, quite rightly too. And so live like me, you've suffered these last 3 years. I want to break bread with you and show solidarity with you today because you matter. Your grief journey matters to us, and you remain, from the bottom of my heart, our friends. And I hope we can support you in any way going forward. You'll remember that is what this hospice, this charity, is here to do. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. And I'm going to hand you on to our first reader, Martin.
Thank you, Giles. Our first reading is going to be read for us by Katie Costello, who is one of our community healthcare assistants.
Afternoon. Thank you, Martin, and sincerely thank you very much, Giles. Seasons of grief. Shall I wither and fall like an autumn leaf from this deep sorrow, from this painful grief? How can I go on or find a way to be strong? Will I ever enjoy life's sweet song? Sometimes a warm memory sheds light in the dark and eases the pain like the song of a meadow lark. Then it flits away on silent wings and I'm alone, hungering for more of the light that it had shone. Shall grief's bitter cold sadness consume me like a winter storm on the vast angry sea? How can I fill the void and deep desperate need to replant my heart with hope's loving seed? Then I look at a photo of your playful, smiling face, and for a moment I escape to a serene, happy place, remembering the laughter and all that you would do, cherishing the honest, caring, loving spirit of you. Shall spring's cheerful flowers bring life anew and allow me to forget the agony of missing you? Will spring's burst of new life bring fresh hope and teach my grieving soul how to cope? Sometimes I'll read a treasured card you had given me, and each word's special meaning makes me see the precious gift of love I was fortunate to receive. And I realise you would never want to see me grieve. Shall summer's warm bright sun bring new light and free my anguished mind of its terrible plight? With its gentle breezes chase grief's dark clouds away and show me a path, a clear path towards a better day. For all the remaining seasons of my life on earth, there'll be days I'll miss your merriment and mirth. And sometimes I'll sadly long for all the yesterdays, missing our chats and your gentle understanding ways. Yet the lessons of kindness and love that you taught me, and the good things in life you've helped me to see, linger as lasting gifts that comfort and will sustain until I journey to that peaceful shore and see you again.
We're now going to bring forward our book of remembrance, and to do this will be Mandy King, who is one of our housekeeping team, and Alison Dixon, one of our hospice counsellors. Reportedly, the Hollywood film star Bette Davis said, "Old age ain't no place for sissies." She isn't the only person to think this. My Auntie Jen told me last year when we were talking on the phone, old age isn't for wimps. This year she celebrated her 80th birthday. A nurse from leaving school, she succeeded in her career, becoming matron on the premature baby unit at Hull General Hospital. The death of her husband and recently mobility problems prior to COVID have been very distressing for her. Just after her 80th birthday, though, she was able to fly to New Zealand to see her 1-year-old grandson for the first time. So not all bad. Old age is not for sissies or for wimps, and the diseases we associate with old age are no laughing matter. Working in hospice care, we are mostly called on to provide nursing and supportive care to our older generation. This is not always the case, though, because the diseases that bring people to our service are no respecters of age. When new to hospice care, I was asked to support a young woman who was 27 years old. Since the age of 11, Charlotte had suffered from liver disease. Throughout her teenage years and early 20s, much of her life was taken up with treatments, transplants, and clinical attempts to cure her and return her to a normal life. When I met Charlotte, she was jaundiced and mostly confined to bed. Described by some people as OCD, I came to see that the disease that had dominated her young life had not dominated her spirit. She had completed school, learned the violin, gained her degree, although over an extended period. And when unable to continue with her violin, she joined a local choir. And most days would look at the job pages in the paper with her father and say, "Look, Dad, I could do that job." On a Saturday night, a few weeks into her stay, I was called out to offer support to Charlotte and her family as she was unresponsive and expected to die quite soon. I sat at her bedside and spoke words of encouragement and comfort, affirming this young woman in her sense of self, and not knowing whether or not these words were heard. After speaking to her parents, I left for home expecting that on my return to work on the Monday, Charlotte would have died. Monday came, and I made my way to the ward and to her room. I received a welcome shock as I opened the door. Charlotte was sat up in bed eating egg on toast and very much still in the land of the living. I didn't want to interrupt her breakfast, and honestly, I didn't fully know what to do. But I asked her had she heard me speaking to her on Saturday night, and she told me she had heard me. I then left her to her breakfast with the intention to return to see her later. That night, Charlotte died. But the impact of her far too short life, the impact that it made and the impression she left lives on today. Not with me alone, but with all who met and loved her. She took what life had to offer her, and she lived her own life to the fullest that she could do. When we meet people with life-limiting illness, as you have had, having your loved ones taken too soon, we are never prepared to part. It's hard as we come to recognize, though, the impact that their lives have made, the love, the fortitude and the strengths, as well as the weaknesses shared through the hard times in life and approaching death. How we will miss them. The memories that return of happier days and good times when the stresses and pressures of caring for a loved one who is dying pass. The ability that we hold as human beings to love beyond measure and love beyond the grave. We may grow older as our loved ones are unable to. We may enter old age and discover, as Bette Davis and my Auntie Jen did, the challenges of growing old. We may find it hard to think so at times, but we are lucky. And our loved ones would want us to hold to life's gift and meet our own challenges in life with love, fortitude, and strength now too. Most of all, though, they would want us to continue with the knowledge that a life that has loved and known love is a life well lived. A life that has loved and known love is what they had with you. No matter how short or long, and what they would want of you is to continue to love, because love conquers all. In the run-up to the season, I heard an interview about Sainsbury's seasonal advertising campaign. Other supermarkets are available. On Radio 4's Today programme, it is a story of an older man learning to skateboard so that he would have something in common with the child he and his wife were about to foster over Christmas. They interviewed the poet Lim Sisay on the programme as he was brought up as a child, first fostered and then in care, and now an advocate for cared for children. One thing that he said really stuck with me. He said the Christmas table doesn't only remind you of the people who are present, but of also those who are not present. Tough as life can be, and hard as this season is for our grief and sense of loss, we are no sissies or wimps when we continue to see and know the love shared in life with our loved ones who have died. This season, when memories can be most vivid and talk of them most natural, let these memories comfort your heart and show how we continue to share in the love that they gave to us in life. Remember how they wished you love, fortitude and strength. Were they here? Remember that love never dies, and that the gift of love they shared with you in life is always with you, never fails, is a priceless and a free gift. A gift that outshines any material worth, and one that you can hold forever close to your heart. And we now have a musical performance by Victoria Boltwood.
Remember me when the west wind moves upon the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while upon the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her hair came down along the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love upon the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold. I never made promises lightly. remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley, and you can tell the sun in his jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold, as we walk in fields of gold. We'll walk in fields of gold. Thank you. How long will I love you? As long as the stars are above you, and longer if I can. How long will I need you? As long as the seasons need to follow their plan. How long will I be with you? As long as the sea is bound to wash upon the sand. How long will I want you? As long as you want me to, and longer if I can. How long will I want you? As long as you want me to, and longer by far. How long will I be with you? As long as I live through you. However long you say. How long will I love you? As long as stars are above you, and longer if I How long will I love you? As long as the stars are above you.
I'd now like to introduce to you our second reader, who is Mr. Dace Murray, who's one of our counsellor who volunteers for the hospice.
There is a light that's shining through the darkness of our lives. It penetrates the cosmos of our thoughts when faith arrives. It's a light to guide humanity across the devil night into resplendent dawnings of belief in what is right. And no matter what the future holds, no darkness will diffuse this light. This light will shine forever in the consciousness of man. It will not dim when sorrow ends what love began. It is a light that quells insanity when pain is at its height, amid the bleeding carnage, when injustice showed its might. But no matter what may lie in store, no darkness will diffuse this light. No other light is shining with such perfect clarity. It shines on man's indifference to the world's despondency. It is a light nobody can neglect in life's incessant fight to hold the keys of freedom with infinity in sight. And no matter what tomorrow brings, no darkness will diffuse this light.
We now come to the time in our service where we're going to light up the lights that were given to you or left on the chair for you as you arrived, the LED lights that are here. And during this time of personal reflection, we're going to be accompanied by Erica Blackland-Dillon on the harp. Many people receive care for their families from the breadth of services that are available through St Catherine's Hospice. And I'd like to invite Lucy Bushnell now to come and share the experience that she and her family had of care from St Catherine's.
My dad, Colin, embraced life. He loved being the entertainer, he was a joker, and when he was around, you knew everything would be okay. He enjoyed a sensible career as a dog handler in the Mechlin Police, and then he did that thing that most people did in the 1970s when they left the police force, and he bought a pub. So when I came along, I was brought up in a pub. I was very close to my dad. I used to help him bottle up in the mornings. My dad was always busy doing crazy things. One of my best childhood memories was Christmas Eve when Dad used to create a life-size outdoor nativity scene for the local community. He arranged straw bales to be delivered to create a stable, encouraged 3 locals to dress up as wise men and a couple of others to be shepherds. The youngest children in the village were invited to be Mary and Joseph. One pub regular would bring a sheep down, one dragged a cow along, and another a donkey. There was a piper playing on the roof, and Dad would get everyone singing carols with him from the top of their voices and handed out chocolate to all the children. Then a horse-drawn carriage would appear and Father Christmas would step out, and I actually promise that happened. Dad was always a lot of fun. So in August 2018, it was a huge shock when he was diagnosed with cancer. He was very calm and said it would be all right. He had several chemotherapies, but by March the following year, he was admitted to St Catherine's. I thought the hospice would be a bad place, clinical, cold and uncaring. But the first day I came to see Dad, he was in a hospice in the garden, in a chair, and It was so nice. My twins were 11 years old then and were running around, and the nurses made us feel very comfortable, and we were trying to teach Dad the Baby Shark song. The nurses got involved as well, and it was all very funny. Nobody actually minded hearing laughter in the hospice. In actual fact, it was encouraged. The hospice made things feel normal for the weeks that Dad was there. It was lovely that he wasn't kept in bed the whole time. The nurses gave Dad as much freedom as he could have, which was absolutely invaluable. I remember watching the Grand National in the lounge, as he loved to watch the horses. Then, at about 4:30 every afternoon, you'd hear a clink, 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 clink from afar, and as the clink, clink got louder and louder, the jolly trolley arrived. We often sat and had a drink together. He also loved petting the pets, his therapy dog, on the ward and having hand massages, and would tell me, "It's all right, Luce, I'm having my man massage today." I only saw Dad scared once, and he wanted to know how long his pain was going to last. He spoke to the hospice chaplain and asked some questions, and they did some meditation. As well as looking after Dad, the hospice looked after us as a family. My dad's wife, me, my brother, my sister, and our families were all welcome to the hospice to spend time with Dad. We weren't ever told that we couldn't have as many of us around the bed. We were encouraged to do what we wanted to do and needed to do in that time. Nobody judged us. It was like being in our own home, but without the decor. The hospice doctors always explained everything that was happening, answered the questions we or Dad had with honesty and care. The staff at the hospice were phenomenal. They gave you love, they gave you space, and you go away at night knowing the person you were leaving was in the best possible hands. And when you were at the hospice, you didn't want to leave, but when you were at home, you didn't come back because it was like two worlds colliding, but you knew the world that your loved one was in was the best world. When Dad started to deteriorate, the nurses helped the whole family with our feelings about approaching his death. Knowing Dad that was so well supported, the nurses made things easier. The nurses always did everything they could to make him comfortable. They come in through, although Dad couldn't speak by the end, and they say, "You all right, Colin? All right?" And I tell Dad, "Don't worry, the jolly glory will come round in a minute. I'll have your drink. Don't worry about it, Dad." In the 2 nights before my dad died, my sister and my dad's wife stayed in chairs by his bed, and they were really impressed by the care they received from the night staff too. On the day that Dad died, we were taking it in turns to sit around his bed. It was about 7:30 p.m, and we were all starting to say goodnight to him, as we normally did, when the nurses came to us and said, "Would you mind going into a different room? We just need to make him more comfortable for the night." And off we all trotted, and we went out. But then a nurse came down the corridor saying, "You need to come back, his breathing has changed." So we all went straight into his room. The nurses gave us as much space to say our goodbyes. They let us sit around, take in what was going on. The respect they give each patient is everything. When I left Dad's room, because I couldn't deal with seeing him like that, the hospice staff also looked after me, and everybody was very lovely. To thank St Catherine's Hospice for all that it has done for me and my family. 10 weeks ago, I ran the London Marathon. I was supposed to run it in 2020, but due to COVID, it was delayed until October this year. I told Dad that I was going to run before he died. I've done 5 marathons before, and I knew I had this one left in me, and it was the most important because it was for him. I wore my bright orange St Catherine's run vest with great pride, and every single step I took, which is about 62,000 steps, just in case any of you are interested, I knew I was doing it for Dad and St Catherine's. In the end, it wasn't just about running a marathon, it was deeply personal for me. It was a celebration of Dad's life, the journey we went on, and the approach to the end of his life. I made it over the finish line, and I'm really proud to say that we raised over £7,000 for St Catherine's Hospice. And I realised that if the money I can help to ease the pain for other families who are using the hospice and feel the emotions I did, what better way to spend 6 hours of my life? I often think about the many other people who have run the marathon and raised money that helped St Catherine's provide the care for my dad and our family and what we went through. Being part of the Tree of Light service this year is a special space to remember Dad, and I've proudly left my remembrance star on a tree today. The pain of losing Dad doesn't go away, it's always there. But it's wonderful to come together with others and give us the opportunity to remember our special person, much missed, family members and friends. I will always be eternally grateful for the care, love and support given to my dad, my family at the toughest time. Thank you, St Catherine's.
Although rightly, as Lucy said, St Catherine's Hospice isn't a cold place. We do recognise that it is chilly today in the room. We have got the heating on, but it doesn't seem to be making that much difference. Unfortunately, we haven't brought the jolly trolley with us, but we're not too far now from being able to have a cup of tea and coffee. And at the end of our service, you'll all be very welcome to come and view those, as we also partake of those, whilst we also view the Book of Memories. We're now going to dedicate our Tree of Light and turn on the lights. We are thankful for every one of our loved ones remembered today, and for every treasured memory of them, for the ways in which their and our lives are indelibly linked, for the love that they held for and showed to us and we for them, for the difficult and challenging as well as the good and easy times, for their lives and for all that life taught us through their example. In our sadness, with great affection, we remember them, and for all who mourn, we wish them comfort, peace and love. In this season where our senses may at times feel overwhelmed by the festivities, we place our feelings now in a place where their tenderness and continuing grief are held in the knowledge that we do not face this time alone, but those around us today are sharing in that journey. We will now turn on our Tree of Light. Our third reading for the service today is going to be read by Wayne Stepney, who is our Head of Facilities and Hospitality.
Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn, brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark, a further adventure of colour. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you enfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was live, awake, complete. We look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything, to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where you would grow lonely without you. You'd want us to find in your presence beside us, when beautiful lights brighten, when kindness glows and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, the darkest winters turn to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again. In that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again.
And now some closing words. Like a shadow in the moonlight, like the whisper of the seas, like the echoes of a melody, just beyond our reach. In the shadow of our sorrow, past the whisper of goodbye, love shines through eternity, a heartbeat from our eye. And may compassion, peace, and the daily hope in mankind, in humankind, be with us and remain with each one of us. Just want to offer some thanks now to the Copthorne Hotel, Effingham, for hosting our service today. To Erica and Victoria for their performances today, and Erica will be playing again for us as we finish the service. For Angel Delights, who met us with their vocal renditions of carols and songs. For Top Gear Sound and for Faye Films. But we also want to thank the many team members for Inclusion Generation and fundraising from Wellbeing, our staff and volunteers who have given their time today to support this event and worked behind the scenes in order that we're able to have our event today. I want to particularly recognise the work of Olivia Mayhew, who is our In Memoriam fundraiser, who has led the delivery of our services this year, and for the first time, and for the excellent job that she and team members throughout the organisation have done in order to be able to provide for our Tree of Light service 2022. And now, I'd also like to thank you for coming today and taking part with your hearts in this time of remembrance. I want to invite you to view the book of memory and also to have a warming cup of tea or coffee and a mince pie. Meet with members of staff, with friends here who are here for you. Thank you very much.